Well, let's be clear about this. We're just a few short days away from one of the most important elections in the history of this country. And I really mean that. I'm asking you to take the opportunity to use your voice to tell these parties and the establishment they represent that they no longer represent the people of Dublin and Ireland. I feel that they've completely lost touch with the people they actually were elected to represent. And now is our chance to vote them out, to send a clear message that they have failed the people of this great city and great country. My journey in all this, by the way, didn't just start 6 weeks ago when I announced my candidacy. I guess you could say it started when I took the first call from a listener live on the radio. Since then, I've spoken to over 250,000 people on the radio.
Hi, Niall.
Hi, Niall.
Hi, Niall.
Hi, Niall.
How you doing, Niall?
I'm more qualified than any of these politicians to understand people's problems and what the general public really want. And I don't think there's a single politician in the country who could say they have spoken to close that number over the course of their careers. And that's why I want you to come out on June the 7th and vote for me, because I have listened, I understand, and I want to help the people that I've listened to for the last 30 years. I was born in this city, I was raised in this city, and I've experienced the highest of highs, Italia 90 and Paki Bonner's save against Romania, Ray Houghton's goal in the Giant Stadium, and the Dubs winning 5 in a row in Croke Park.
Senior football champions for 2023.
I remember all those street sellers on Moore Street, and of course the beautiful windows in Switzer's on Christmas Eve, where as little kids we'd gaze in and see all the decorations and the reindeers and the Santa Claus. But now sadly I don't recognise Dublin anymore. Sure, Dublin has always had its fair share of problems, but it was still our Dublin. But I've also seen the lows, the recession of the 1980s, the crash of the Celtic Tiger, and what I regard as the gradual detachment of the people from the elite in government, who make decisions that no longer benefit the people they're actually paid to represent. For far too long, the establishment and the elite have held their reins of power, making decisions that benefit themselves while ignoring the real needs of people. These high-paid civil servants and NGOs do not represent us. The constant government and waste and overspend, the children's hospital scandal, the failures in housing, homelessness, and more recently, the strain on our services due to immigration, adding even more pressure to our already damaged housing crisis. This government are so disconnected that for the last 2 years in particular, they've been referring to people as right-wing, the far right, because people come up with logical solutions to reducing the amount of illegal migrants coming into this country. And that's why I proposed the Triple D plan. Deterrent, detention, and deportation. But we have one chance to do something about it, just one. That change we need is within our grasp. If you can get out on June the 7th, we can elect new people to Europe and to our local councils. New people that truly care about this city and the future of this wonderful country. Not career politicians who've been in political parties their whole lives and rely on spin doctors and advisors, but people who want to deliver a better future for the people of this great city and country. So I'm asking you, actually no, I'm pleading with you, please go out and vote for me on June the 7th. If the response that I've had while I've been out canvassing on the campaign trail is translated into votes on the day, I'm confident that you will trust me and elect me to the European Parliament. Get out and vote, number 1, for me, Niall Boylan, and I promise I won't let you down. I'll be the real voice of Dublin and Ireland in Europe. All right, moving on. I have another interesting topic here because it's an email and I wanted to read it out to you. And it says, "Hi Niall, I've been a dedicated listener to you for years. Thank you very much. And I've always admired your wisdom on various matters. Today, I find myself in need of you and your listeners' guidance on a deeply personal and challenging issue. My eldest son is 11 years of age, and we were married over 9 years ago. We had my son before we were married, but I got pregnant while we were going through a difficult period in the relationship. It was kind of a short break, but I suppose the agreement was we were still a couple. And I was at a difficult and angry time, and I ended up in a one-night stand with a guy I randomly met on a night out with some friends. For years, I have more or less known, as we women do, from the timing, but my husband had no idea because we were back together and not long after. Fast forward to now, and the guilt got the better of me. As I always knew, there was doubt, and I recently made a difficult decision to have a DNA test done on my son, who is now 11 years of age. My fears and suspicions were confirmed when the results came back, revealing he is not my husband's biological son. I'm brokenhearted over this, and I have this information for the last 3 months and I've told nobody. This has left me with an overwhelming sense of guilt and heartache now. My husband and I have a beautiful relationship and are soulmates, and he and all our children have an incredible close bond. My husband and my son are very typical father and son and do everything together. However, the knowledge that my husband is not my son's biological father racks me with so much guilt. I'm torn between telling him the truth and the fear of causing irreparable damage to our marriage and the wonderful relationship he has with our son and children. Keeping a secret feels like betrayal of my husband's trust, and I fear the consequences of withholding that truth from him in case he ever finds out, if there was ever a DNA test done, maybe for medical reasons. I'm sure one of your listeners may have been through something similar in their lives or had a situation like this and might have some advice. Sincerely, Anon. Okay, so, brass tacks. 11 years of age, father is not his father, at least he thought he was, because she had a one-night stand just before they were married. She never told him. They get on great. They have a lovely family. They're happy. They're in love. He has a great relationship with the son. She now knows it's not his son. She doesn't need to tell him, but should she? Because she's racked with guilt. Let me know what you think. The number is 085 122 55. That's 085 122 55. If you want to, by the way, you can send us a WhatsApp voice note. Just send it by WhatsApp to that same number, 085 122 55, and we'll play your message on the air. Dave, hi, how are you?
A long time no talk.
Yeah. So, Dave, what would you do in this situation?
I should have to come clean.
Well,
she has to come clean. There's no way she... To be fair, it should actually just been honest, where she did have the one-night stand when they were on a break, in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Things might not have been too bad. No, she'd end up getting pregnant from it. I'd say your man probably would have walked, but there's no way out of this.
But she could say, look, I'm not an advocate for lying in a relationship. You should probably never have secrets and never have any lies in a relationship. But in this situation, some people might argue, well, what he doesn't know is not going to hurt him.
And you know what? Once upon a time, I would have been one of those what you don't know is going to kill you kind of people. But no, look, these kinds of things eventually come out somehow anyway. God forbid if your man ever needed a kidney transplant or bone marrow, and I know they're rare, or even what if when the kid gets older, he's like, she might do one of those DNA tests. Because they're very popular nowadays.
Yeah, of course, the MyHeritages and all those, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. What if your man says, hey, let's just for the crack, we'll all get DNA tests for Christmas. And she starts saying, no.
It says, look, ma'am, look at my DNA test. It says Paddy the Butcher is me father.
There you go. Yeah. I'm half Nigerian, that kind of way. Yes, obviously if he was half Nigerian, they probably would have noticed by now.
Yeah, they probably would have noticed,
yeah. But yeah, no, she has to. If she really loves the guy, she should do it. She probably won't.
But here's the danger. So if she tells him, she's admitting two things. One, that he's not the father of the child. And two, that she had an affair while they were still together, technically in a bit of a break. Right? So there's two problems.
Gives her a little bit of a grey area, that whole we were on a break thing. I can't stop thinking about Friends ever since you said that.
Yeah, we're on a break. But here's two things. That would be damaging to the marriage, which could cause chaos. But also, would it be damaging to the relationship between the father and the son?
I don't know. I was thinking about this myself, and I was like, if I had found out that Killian wasn't mine. And I'd like to think that, actually, my first thought was great. I can smack him around now. I don't have to worry about doing that. No,
I don't have any, I don't have any legal responsibility to him. See you, bye.
But that's it. Hey, come in here. Why are you holding the hurley? Close the door. I know. Sorry, teenagers.
But if you found out tomorrow, let's say for argument's sake, you found out tomorrow that he wasn't biologically your son, right? I'm sure that's not the case, by the way. But you found out tomorrow he wasn't. Would you feel differently about him?
I'd like to think that I wouldn't. I genuinely, in my heart to heart, I think I wouldn't. But it really is one of those things where it's all hypothetical until you're in the situation, and then when you're in the situation, you go to a completely different mindset than the one that you thought you had before. It's like we can all empathize to a certain degree with stuff happening with people because we might have had similar experiences. But there are certain things in life that you have to experience yourself to really be fully able to kind of grasp the scope of things, so to speak. So it could completely change it. He could be like, well, not even that, but the kid has siblings as well. What about the poor son? He's going to be like, well, they're not really my brothers and sisters. They're my half brothers and sisters.
Okay, well, hang on for a second. Stay there because I want to go to Bernie as well. Bernie, hi, how are you? Dave says you have to tell her. You have to, or tell him. You have to tell him.
I would say the same. Because, I do, because she went to the trouble of getting a DNA test. She had her suspicions. Why did she do that? If she didn't want to find out, she would, she shouldn't have done it.
I think she said she's more or less said she's knew all along. Yeah.
Okay, well then, if she knew all along, and when she was pregnant, imagine that poor man thinking about it now. He went to the pregnancy test, saw it positive, went to the hospital, saw the baby being growing on the scans. He's completely innocent in this, and she knew all along. When she says they were on a break, could she not admit it during all that? Do you know what? I'm not 100% sure that it actually, before the baby was born, and let him decide. But no, she went ahead and she decided that she was going to carry on regardless. Not really sure. It won't make any difference, but it does. It makes a huge difference.
Mm. But maybe she didn't want to rock the boat at that particular time, and that's kind of understandable. Maybe the relationship was back in good stead, and she said, if I tell him I've had a one-night stand and this baby is not his, or this pregnancy is not his, there'll be murder. That'll be the end of the relationship. We won't get married, and we're doomed.
But they got married. To think that she lied, so she lied through her vow, she lied through everything in life. You can't do that now. You have to take responsibility for your actions. I hate to say it. If you kill somebody or you knock someone down, you take responsibility for the action, knowing the devastation it's going to cause. You have to do it. Mm. I'm sorry, you can't live that lie, because as the first caller says, you have to see down the line. None of us want anything to change, but maybe the husband will be fine. And kind of said, well, I kind of guessed it, but and they might be fine about it. But you have to tell the truth. I'm sorry.
Even if it means it could destroy his marriage, it could destroy the relationship between his son and his father. It could destroy the relationship between the father and the rest of the children, because the marriage could break up. It could destroy everything. From what she says, seems to be a happy little family. Yeah,
but it's not really.
Mm.
She's carrying that secret. It's going to eat away at her. It's not going to get any better. And every milestone they pass, he's 11, he's going to be a teenager. We don't know how he could turn out. What about the father of the child? Did she ever contact him?
No, it was a one night stand, she said. She's never obviously contacted the father, ever.
And what about the grandparents? How would they feel if they found out that their first grandson is technically not theirs?
Oh, this is what I'm saying. It'll turn life upside down. No, don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely one for telling the truth. But I'm just saying, some people might say, leave as is, because you're just going to turn everybody's life upside down.
But you know how many people have gone through life and discovered that they weren't belonging to the family at all?
Oh, it's quite common, by the way.
It is very common. In Ireland especially, it's hugely common. I can only talk for...
I read out statistics on the radio there, but it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We were talking about something similar. And I can't remember the stats now at the moment. I'll probably get them in my ear in a second. But but paternity tests, it's ridiculous. There are so many fathers out there who think their children are theirs, but they're not. It's a really high statistic. It's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 or something like that. It's a very high statistic.
Goes behind her back and does a DNA test on all his children, listening to a program and think, oh, I wonder, and discovers. How would she feel then if he went and did it behind her back?
I'm just looking at paternity tests. In Ireland, 35% of the paternity tests turn out not to be the father of the children.
How can you get? I mean,
Sorry, Dave. Did I frighten you there, Dave? Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I mean, that's massive.
35% of paternity tests turn out not to be the father of the child. Now you have to remember, that's if you base that sample on people who are sending in paternity tests. So they obviously have a suspicion from the word go. Right? So it's 35% of paternity tests, but it's still huge. Yeah.
Why would you doubt yourself? I mean, that's beggars belief. Why would you get married and have a relationship? What's wrong with truth and honesty anymore? Why are you having a one-night stand and not having the... I don't get it.
I'm a firm believer, and I think we've talked about something similar on the air before. I'm a firm believer that every child should have a DNA taken before they leave a hospital, and the parents have a DNA taken to clarify the person is actually the father of the child.
But I mean, I married my husband in love, and I took vows and I pledged. And if I thought for a minute, how could I live with myself? How could I live with myself? I'm just thinking of me. How would I live with myself if I thought one of my kids wasn't actually my husband? How could I get over that at 60 now and my kids are in their 40s? And I couldn't cope with that.
You'd feel just racked with guilt.
I couldn't have done that to them.
We'll stay there, both of you, Dave and Bernie. Just let me just go to John as well. John, hi.
Afternoon again. How are you?
John, how are you doing? John, in relation to, would you keep the secret, or would you say something and just be honest?
First of all, like this idea, it is now a happy little family, right?
Yep.
So why spoil that? Now, 5 words sums this up to me. Take it to the grave. At this stage, there is no point in upsetting everybody, because the chances of the marriage will possibly break down, because it's gone into your man's head then, this idea we were on a break. Normally when couples go on a break and then they end up getting together and they get married, whatever. But when you're on the break, you're trying to get your head straight because something is wrong with the relationship, some stresses come in, some outside influences, whatever. And you take the break, not to go screwing around.
It was a short break, can I point out?
Yeah.
And I want to read what she said about the break again. I think it's important. I had my son before we were married, but I got pregnant while we were going through a difficult period in the relationship. It was kind of a short break, but I suppose the agreement was we were still a couple.
Well, if she maintains that was her mindset, that in her mind they were still a couple, she shouldn't have been screwing around.
Yeah, she'd have one night stand.
Or any night, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is now that ship has sailed. She did have the one night stand, and now she's found out, that young child, that young boy of 11, is not the
Well, when you say she's found out, I think she's known all along. I get the impression she's known all along. She just confirmed it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, look, I listened to Dave earlier on there as well, and this idea he couldn't answer. He found out the child wasn't his. How would he feel about it? And he said, it's kind of hypothetical. You'd have to be in that situation to understand that mindset, right? And up to a point, I can understand that. But I know if it was me, obviously, any man out there, whether it's boy or girl, and they found out that they're not the biological father, you are going to look at that child differently. Because yesterday, you thought this was your son or your daughter. Today, it's not. Now, saying that, I'm not saying that you're going to, like some kind of a throwaway object, that you're going to discard the child, you're going to discard the love, how you felt for the child, all you've done with the child, and everything, and you possibly should not, and morally abandon that child anyway, and most guys wouldn't, because there's a relationship built up. But you are not able to look at that child and you won't say, this is my biological son or daughter.
I mean, I do understand what John is saying, Dave. You will, I know it's hypothetical, but you would think differently if you thought it wasn't actually your son.
Yeah, knowing me, if I found out, I don't think, in all seriousness, I don't think it would change.
No, you're not going to abandon him, obviously, right?
No, but I don't think it would change how I feel, because I'm there from day one. I'm not even there from day one. I'm there from before he was even born. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
I genuinely, but it's just, I've read enough stories on Reddit and stuff like that for people who are in positions like this. And I've read stories where people are like, well, I've nothing to do with kids anymore. They're not mine. I'm leaving. And in my head, I'm like, well, you're a fucking scumbag, personally, for walking out on a child that you found out, fine, biologically isn't yours. who you just spend 10, 12, 13, 14 years raising to walk out. Any man who does that is absolute scum, in my opinion. You know, but like, I mean, if she approaches this with the fella, like, if he really is like a stand-up guy and he says, I don't want to have a relationship with you anymore, he might agree to keep stum just for the sake of the children because they're too young. You know, if he's a good dude and he's got a good, strong moral caliber about him,
if he's a good dude, he's just whatever about being a good dude. If he just finds out that his son is not here and his wife had an affair, that's a lot to keep stum about, isn't it?
No, I'm not saying keep stum about that. Like, they can break up and they can just, you know, say to the kids, look, mommy and daddy aren't getting along anymore, without having to completely torpedo.
But John is saying, why do that? Why create a huge problem in a marriage that otherwise seems like a happy marriage?
Yeah,
because something like this will come out, because stuff like this comes out eventually.
There's a possibility that if he needs it. Hang on, John. Dave is right. It could come out if he ever needed, a kidney replacement or stem cell replacement, the chances of that are slim, right? Now,
of course,
and that's a risk he or she has to take.
Look at the danger now that's involved here, Niall, right? We'll say that she tells him, right? And he really goes spare over this, like, and he says, look, that's the end of the marriage now. He still possibly give up the connection. Supposing it eats more like a cancer into his emotion, into his brain, into his thoughts, his feelings, right? And it affects his health, and he ends up getting a nervous breakdown. He loses his job. This man could end up homeless on the streets and die on the streets.
Well, John's thinking of the future. Yeah, sorry. Hang on. Let me go back to Bernie. Bernie, I understand what John is saying, and I'm not one for advocating lying or keeping secrets, but I do understand the point that he's making. You know, if she says nothing, it may never be found out, and life would just go on.
Yeah. Now, that never happens in real life. We all know this. Secrets come out eventually, even from beyond the grave. They come out eventually,
no,
and the hurt and the
pain. Not as hard.
Yeah,
not as hard.
They do.
Listen,
they do.
There is many a secret buried in churchyards.
Well, I'm sorry. I've seen and I understand what you're saying. However, the guilt is the fact that she's rang in and asked for advice. We all know that she's already racked with guilt, and she knows where this is going. And I mean, you have to tell the truth. I mean, this goes to cause. I know what you're saying.
If she's listening,
okay, sorry. One at a time. Sorry, John. Go ahead. Yeah.
If she's listening, right, and by her own admission, the family is now in a very stable situation, and they're very, very happy. Like, so why, in God's name, would you bring this shitstorm down on top of the family? If she's listening, I would say again, repeat those 5 words: take it to the grave.
Well, I'm not of the opinion. I'm thinking tell the truth and let the cards fall away. He might even be saying that's fine. I kind of guessed. You know, you don't know how you can't take responsibility for somebody else's actions.
Okay, well, stay there for a second. Let me just go to Morris as well. Morris, hi, how are you?
Niall, how are you doing? That's an awful predicament for a woman to be in. And I'm just thinking on both sides. I agree with John and I agree with Dave and I agree with the lady as well. If she goes and tells him and he's devastated, and if there's younger siblings, is he going to think, well, once a cheater, always a cheater? I want the other 2 or 3 kids tested as well.
Yeah, that's
if you've done it once,
well, you would.
Again,
I mean, you would.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you'd want them the other ones tested.
There's doubt there right away, you know. But I do know for a fact, and I said it to your researcher, I do know that in my mother's generation, who was born in 1919, they took secrets to the grave, and there was family stuff that went on. It did come out eventually, but it didn't affect anybody because it was all the people concerned are dead. But stuff did go on, and there is families carrying stuff like this. I think she was a very silly woman to put everything she wanted in life at risk for a one-night stand. Imagine if she had picked up an STI or something, and then she gave it to him, and then all of a sudden there's a child born. You know?
Well, people do that all the time. You know, I mean, people have affairs and put their whole family at risk, and the amount of people who are damaged by, an affair or adultery is unbelievable.
Horrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Devastation. It leaves a wake of devastation.
And then again, just say the lady passed away in years to come and he's left with the family and the secret comes out, oh, by the way, you're not the eldest boy's father. His whole life, as far as he's concerned, is a lie. His whole life is a lie. You know? Yeah. So it depends on the degree of, like I said, I'd hate to see families being shattered over a point of principle. But like I say, the stuff we grew up with and was beaten into us as children, you won't get into trouble if you don't tell a lie, and honesty is the best policy. Mm. But I think she has to focus on the family and her husband and You know, I know somebody that got really bad news, and you know, the shock was so bad. Niall, he dropped dead.
Jesus.
The person dropped dead.
Yeah. There's a point. No?
You know, this is what happens in life and reality. So, you know, I'll be honest with you. If it was my sister or a relation of mine that was in this predicament, I'd ask her to weigh up. You know, what's the worst that can happen here for telling the truth? Like somebody said, if you're going to destroy a whole family and bring it all down around you, and everybody lives in doom and gloom, how's you going to have a child that's rejected because he has a different father? And like Dave said, half brothers, half sisters, and then he has another predicament that he has to go to get to know a father who probably doesn't want to know him.
Could happen. I mean, Bernie Morris has got a point there. You got to look at the worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario is you're throwing a bomb into that relationship. You're throwing a bomb into that family, where everything could just go wrong.
But the bomb is there anyway. It's going to go on.
It's not. The bomb is only in her head at the moment. The guilt is only in her head.
Yeah.
No, she's told no. She said in the email, "I've told nobody since I found out. Nobody."
But she told you, and she told
the grenade won't explode unless you pull the pin.
Yes, absolutely. I like the analogies. Sorry, Bernie, go ahead. Yeah.
was already there. She's not. It's not going to go away. It's going to live with her for the rest of her day. She's already getting.
Yeah.
She's getting feelings of regret and remorse, and it's only going to eat away. It's not going to get any better. The lie is never going to go away. I'd be prepared to put down my tools and tell the truth. It might come out in very favour. He might say, "I can't, that's okay. I'm not going to do anything. You don't know who the father is. The other father is. I'm happy."
Yeah,
to
he
take
might
it on."
say that.
He might be that father. He might be that father.
He might not. But Mara says you got to look at the worst case scenario, Bernie.
Yeah, I know, but the worst case scenario is she's living with the guilt all this time, and it's eating into her. It's not going to get any better. It's going to happen eventually. It's going to explode.
Niall.
Yeah. Sorry, Morris. Yeah.
Just to give Bernie another situation that we know, if you want to hypothetically look at it, imagine a woman rocked up to the woman's door and said, "Hello, how are you? I had an affair with your husband 11 years ago, one night stand, and I'm not really in good health, and I want him to take responsibilities for his son." How would she feel?
You see, that's true. You see, I see that point as well. However,
So, at the end of the day, regardless of what goes on in life, and you know as well as everybody else, lies do hurt and lies destroy. But at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't need to know something, why tell them? Because you're doing more good than bad, I think. Because
you're bad than good, you mean? Yeah.
You're destroying the family, you're destroying the man. And if the shoe was on the other foot, if somebody racked up to her door and said, "How are you? There's your husband's son. I had him 11 years ago. I've only 6 months to live. Tell him he needs to take responsibility. There's all these papers. There's the DNA, everything, the whole lot." How would she feel? Her life would be absolutely turned upside down the way she's thinking about turning his life upside down. So, do what's best for everybody involved and don't just feel the guilt for yourself.
All right, thanks for that, Morris. Okay, stay there, please, John and Bernie. Let me go to Sarah. Sarah, hi, how are you?
Jesus, keep tormenting you, don't I?
Yeah,
no.
I'm used to being tormented. You're all right.
I know. I would, if I was in that situation now, I wouldn't. I'd be giving her advice on getting a little bit of help for herself. What's not broken, you know what I mean? Just leave it the way it is, because she's going to wreck her marriage. She was going through a bad time at the start. He used to say that he wasn't with somebody and didn't get found out. Yeah, she got pregnant. The two of them have a lovely 11-year-old.
Yeah.
They're happy. And it's tormenting her head. It's in her head. It's not in the husband doesn't know. The son doesn't know.
The other kids in the family, by the way, there is other children, younger children too. They don't know. None of them know.
Nobody knows nothing.
Except her.
So what I would advise is for that lady to go and get help to air it out in her own head.
Yeah.
To try and get a bit of support for herself and learning how to manage her thoughts, what's going on with her. Because Ireland, I don't know, as a whole, women and men were terrible warriors. We internalise everything to the most negative point of breakdown, which that when we do come out and try to explain things, to our loved ones, it comes out all wrong, and then that's when the grenade explodes. So what I do is what people say is think before you say and give yourself enough time.
Okay, if it was you, Sarah, let's just say.
Yeah.
Would you tell your husband?
100%. No, I wouldn't. I'm being honest.
You'd take it to the grave.
Because the way I look at it is, right, if you're with somebody, right, and you're with a partner or whoever it is, and you're on a short break, to me, that doesn't sit with me properly. Because if someone said to me, listen, we need a break, that's it. I'd be gone. You know, I don't know if I've seen someone else.
I don't do breaks.
I got attracted to it. If I got attracted to it, I probably would end up sleeping with them.
Right.
I wouldn't have full loyalty if someone said to me, we're on a break.
I don't, but this whole we're on a break thing is a load of shite. Either you want to be with somebody or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Relationships aren't part-time.
Exactly. And I don't believe 50-50. I believe 100 each way.
Yeah, but here's the thing. She was on the break. She got pregnant in a one-night stand. She admits, in her own email, she knew at the time the pregnancy wasn't her husband's. Because she obviously got back with the husband straight away, was having sex with him, etc., etc., etc. So he thought it was his.
Right?
She knew. She's a woman. She knew.
Yeah. No, she sat down and the both of them sat down and the two of them probably got so excited, fresh start, right? We're going full.
Yeah.
We're going to get married and we're going to have a family.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
And she didn't want it. And it may have been selfish. And most people are selfish when it comes to things for what they want. And then she's had to have more children, and now the guilt is kicking in. She's getting older. Hormones are changing. Children are growing up. Children are more inquisitive. And nothing is being said within the family home. It's only in her head. So, me personally, I try and look for support for self-care, better well-being, rather than destroying the whole family unit. Because it's not only her family unit, then you have to think of the brothers, the sisters, the cousins. No way. I wouldn't put that on 11-year-olds. I wouldn't care. They're adults. I wouldn't put it on the husband. And I'd tell the wife and go and get help and support for herself.
Bernie, she's kind of saying, similar to John, take it to the grave, but it all sounds very logical, doesn't it? Because of the circumstance nobody advocates telling lies, but.
No, I just sat down at that meeting of when they got back together, knowing probably that she was pregnant with somebody else's child.
Oh, she did? She did. She always knew. Yeah.
But just that she's lied from day one.
But she probably forgot about that after the baby was born and the excitement and everything else, and years go by. I'm sure it all went completely out of her head.
But when you're in love with somebody at the start, right? When you're in love with somebody at the start, right, or you're really into a guy or a girl or whatever the case may be, right? And you're so excited, you're overwhelmed with this euphoric, this, that, and the other. You'd only be thinking, negative. You want to be thinking of something that's going to make it work, even though she probably knew she was pregnant.
Yeah, but
I'm sure,
when they got back together, Sarah, she should have said, "Look, when I was away, if you're being completely honest, I was unfaithful one night, and I'm not sure. Will we get a test? Why couldn't you discuss it at that time and then let him make his mind up then?"
Because he would have lost. She's afraid he would have lost the rag. They were happy. They were going to get married, and she was afraid he would have lost the rag and said, "What do you mean you had sex? We were only on a break. You shouldn't have had sex."
Yeah, but hindsight is great, isn't it?
Sorry, Bernie.
But she knew from the start that she'd done this. If you're open and honest in a relationship, you don't sit down to marriage and go, "Well, I have a lie I'm going to carry to the next world with me. I'm going to not tell anybody about it. I'm going to marry you anyway. We had a one night stand and I'm pregnant." How could you live with yourself for doing that? Why did you go into the marriage in the first place? Why?
Yeah, Bernie, listen, I know where you're coming from, and I love listening to you speak and stuff like that. But in fairness, when people have to go on a break, I just don't get that. And I'm not saying that the man was with someone else, But I'd say more than likely he probably was.
Well, he could have been, but that's all water under the bridge. That was years ago. They're happily married for the last 9 years, and everything is great.
Niall, no, hang on, but still there, in hindsight, like we're saying, we don't know that. So, like, what is to say? Why should we judge this lady and say within hindsight? Like, she probably really wanted to say something to him.
Mm.
And like, when you're in a relationship with someone at the early stages, I'm not going to say you're going to lie through your teeth about everything. But bit by bit, you find out who the person is. And then the more she was into the relationship and everything was going really well, she didn't want to mess all that up and felt that there was no need to do it.
Okay, well, hold on for a second. Just let me bring Martin in as well. Martin, should she say anything?
Good afternoon again. Let me start by saying, I don't understand this thing of let's take a break, but we're still together. That makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't understand that. I can't get my head around. You're either with somebody or you're not.
That's the way I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's this halfway measure kind of thing, you know? The other thing, I think, you know, it shows up the dangers and the problems that come along with promiscuity.
Yep.
But in my opinion, the time to tell the husband would have been before they got married, when the child was born, or even before the child was born, actually, if she suspected that the child wasn't his. Even 11 years ago, she could have had a DNA test, leave it to the husband to decide. But now, there are other children, aren't there?
Yes, there's 2 younger children as well, yeah.
So now, there's a family established. You know, this thing about, you know, what would happen if somebody needed a kidney or whatever else. One, if she only had a one-night stand, it's unlikely they're going to be able to track down who the father was or his family, unless the friends that you mentioned that she was with can put her in touch. And even then, would he want to have anything to do with it?
Dave did mention, I never thought of this, Dave mentioned nowadays a lot of young people like doing those, you know, those heritage tests, you know, the DNA tests that you do online, and they're all very accurate. And, you know, he may do that sometime in the future when he's 17 or 18. He might want to do one of those little tests to see where he comes from and his origins and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden realises, me dad's not even on the list. He's not me dad.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he was doing a heritage test by himself and didn't have a comparator with one of his siblings, it wouldn't really...
Well, it would, because if... the person that, this is going to get complicated, but the person that the mother had the one-night stand with might have children now with somebody else, or could have children themselves, or has a brother and a sister, and has a father and a mother,
That's exactly why I don't like all those tests. And your idea, Niall, it's one thing I would disagree with you on. The idea of having DNA testing when a child is born, no, I wouldn't be in favour of that for a very simple reason. Who's going to keep that information?
Yeah,
no.
I know. I do. After saying that, by the way, I do understand the point you're making in relation to it. But there has to be some way of sorting out this problem, because paternity is a huge problem. It's a bigger problem than you think it is.
Yeah.
There are so many men out there who are rearing children that are not actually theirs, and they don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there are now. I'm sure there are many men, but I don't see that there's anything to be gained at this juncture, at this point in time, by telling the husband that the child is not his. If she feels she has to do it, I would wait until the child is, in fact, until the siblings are older as well. I understand that she feels guilt. The guilt is probably building up. But I think she should take the emotional energy that's going into the guilt and try to work on her marriage, make sure that she keeps a good marriage, never do that again. There were things asked, maybe the husband went out and did the same. Yeah, maybe he did. But maybe he didn't.
Don't know that. Maybe he did.
That to me is kind of immaterial. I think she should have told him before the child was born.
But she didn't. So that's done. Didn't. Yeah.
And now...
So are you agreeing with John? Should she take the secret to the grave?
Let me put it this way. if it were me, and I know for a fact my daughters are mine, I've only got to look at them. I mean, both of my daughters are the spit of each other, and they're the spit of other members of the family. Literally, I mean, some of them you wouldn't tell them apart. But I would take it to the grave. I don't see that there's any point in
rocking the boat. Yeah, well, hang on. Stay there for a second, Martin. Just stay there. Gladys, hi, how are you?
Hiya.
Gladys, do you think she should take this secret to the grave?
I'm kind of conflicted in my answer to that. It depends on the age of the child.
11 years of age? 11?
11 years of age, and have his siblings that are...
He has younger siblings, 2 younger siblings. They're married 9 years, happily married. This was just a one-night stand she had just before, maybe a couple of years before they got married.
Yeah, I feel, the conflict that I have in my own head is that every child has a right to know where they came from and who they come from and anything about them. But, if this could destroy this man with knowing, he's loved this child, it's such a deceitful thing. It's such a horrible thing. I came across this in my life years ago when my youngest was a baby, and a friend that I was friendly with, her baby was the same age. And when I saw the baby and this friend, inverted commas, who had come to visit, I said, "Oh my God, the baby looks very like your friend."
Oh, right, okay.
It turned out it was his.
Yeah.
And she told me to keep the secret. It wasn't my job to go and break up a marriage. But watching that father adoring a child that was not his, I found really heartbreaking for him. And eventually he did find out, I don't know how, but he did find out that the child was not his. The marriage broke up. The whole family broke up. And I don't know whatever happened to them after that.
This is the problem. This is the problem. This could turn... She says they're now in a very happy marriage. They've got 3 kids. She just feels guilty because she knows and nobody else knows. And
why now, though? Why now? Because it's 11 years of keeping...
Because she kind of knew all along. She said that in the email, she kind of says, that kind of female way when you know who got you pregnant. But she was back with the husband. They had a little short break because they had an argument. She went out and went a one-night stand. Then she's back with the husband, obviously having sex, and she realised she's pregnant, but she realised the pregnancy is not his. But she didn't tell him at the time, obviously, because things were good. So she got married to him. Now they're all happy out. They've 3 kids. He adores all 3 of them. Everything is wonderful. But she has had this in her head for years and now decided to get a DNA test, going back a couple of months ago, which she finds out the child is not his.
Oh. Well, after all of that, with all of that information, I think for the child's sake, maybe write a letter and keep it sealed, until he's 21 or she's 21, maybe for the whole family, for the whole, a holistic look at everybody that's going to be affected if she does tell her secret. That maybe, I'm now changing my mind, maybe she should keep it to herself. Right. If he loves that child, and he loves his kid, he's a good dad, they have a happy marriage, all of these things, it will be absolutely destroyed. The relationship that the father has had with that child will be destroyed. I've changed my mind.
Okay, well, do me a favour. So you and Martin are on the same team here. Stay there for a second. Let me just bring Maureen in as well. Maureen, you're saying tell the husband.
I am, yeah.
Why?
Definitely.
Why, when it'll turn their lives upside down?
Whether it turns upside down or not, the marriage is based, number one, on a lie. And that's one. Why let it go on? And the simple reason is she has a guilty conscience now. Well, a guilty conscience cracks eventually. Because you cannot keep going. Once your conscience pricks up, that's it.
Niall.
And why would she let him carry on further down, let him grow up to be an adult, and then find out? It's a fine thing to sit down and tell the man the truth. Because whether people like it or whether they don't, the sad fact of all this is that he has a family somewhere else.
Martin, is that a fair point?
The husband.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something we didn't all think of, by the way. That little child has a family somewhere else.
He has.
Yeah.
Bloodline.
I would seldom I think it's the first time actually I've heard Maureen speak and disagree with her. You see, Maureen said that the marriage is based on a lie. Now, yeah, okay, it started off, there was a lie before the marriage, but Maureen, we don't know the situation in reality. We don't, maybe that husband absolutely
I know what you're saying.
her.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. Hang on. We don't know the situation. It is not for the comfort of the mother now or the father. The main person in this is the child. And the child has the right, and his rights trump their rights to know the truth.
I absolutely agree with you. But we're talking about, from my understanding, we're talking about an 11-year-old here.
Yeah.
I don't know
exactly,
hang on, Maureen, just for a second. If that child had been told from the time they were born that that's not your daddy, but he loves you, the child grows up in the comfort and security of knowing that. Now, if you present that to an 11-year-old, that's going to be devastating. But when the child gets older and is more mature, they can handle it better. It will also have an...
No, I'm sorry. It's going to make no difference. Because if you're going to let him from 11, when he reaches 21 or 22, he can just as well turn around and say, well, why the hell didn't you tell me back then? I look at this man as my father, when my own father and my family... Hold on a second. My bloodline is somewhere else, but you let me carry on until this age. Now I've got to find out. So why not tell him now?
Well, both of you do me a favour, because I want to go to Ger because he can't hang on too long. But Ger, hi, how are you?
How's it going on?
How you doing? You believe you should say nothing?
I'll say nothing there. Less said, better mended, yeah.
Less said, better mended. I've never heard that one before. Okay. But Maureen is thinking of the kid. The kid isn't, she's saying the kid is entitled to know. He's entitled to know.
He's entitled to know. He's got a right to know, and his rights trumps the other's
no,
rights here.
What you don't know won't hurt you there. What you don't know won't hurt you.
No. What
there.
you don't know,
you're going to ruin his life. You're going to do his head up. You're going to do his head in there, all his life there.
No,
you're going to ruin the father there.
Know.
Yes, you were. What you don't know
will
doesn't
hurt him down the line. No, what
how
you don't know
if he doesn't know, how will
hurt him down the line.
If he never, he doesn't need to know.
He
doesn't need to know.
He will find out. And if he finds out
Not
from
at
somebody
all.
else.
Not at all. No.
You don't know that and I don't know that. But nobody ever takes into consideration the rights of the child in anything. We've got things happening in 2 weeks' time and the rights of the child have never once been mentioned.
That man is probably more of a father than his real father would ever be to him there. Let the hair say nothing there.
Fine.
But can I ask you a question, Ger? If you were in that situation and you were that man, would you want to know?
If I had a son out there, I probably would, yeah. But I believe in, I'm a family man, I believe in looking after your kids to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
But you're going to destroy somebody. You're going to destroy somebody. You're going to destroy her husband. You're going to destroy that child. Yeah, and you're going to destroy her. So that's 3 lives that are going to be destroyed.
And probably the other kids' lives too, because the family will be turned upside down. Yeah.
And the other kids to be taken into consideration as well, the other kids as well. You're going to destroy their lives for what? For one lousy mistake.
But hold on a second. What if the real father gets an inkling that this is his son?
Well, he's a little bit late now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 11 years ago. But I don't think the real father, Maureen, is even in the picture. He was a one-night stand somewhere. I don't think she even knows who he is.
Yeah, but if he did get an inkling, you see, she's a guilty conscience. We don't know who she may be after telling.
She said clearly in the email she has told nobody. Never told nobody.
Yeah, but she may have to talk to somebody because her conscience is pricking her now. And you cannot keep your guilty conscience, Niall, and everyone knows that. You cannot keep it inside. You've got to get it off your chest. Because it eats you up inside anyway. And he may get an inkling of it. No one knows this down the future. So the fine thing to do it now and sort it.
Stay there for a second. Let me and say there, Ger. Okay, Ger says keep it, say nothing, keep it to yourself. Maria, hi. Hello, Maria. Oh, she's gone. I think Maria got stage fright. Just kind of disappeared there. Keep texting, keep WhatsApping. The number, by the way, is 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55. Sean, hi, how are you?
Niall, have we learned nothing from the mother and baby homes?
Well, no, it seems not. To some degree, no.
Tell him, this man signed up to have a baby, not to adopt a child. everyone needs to know. The man needs to know, be given the option to go and restart his life. The child needs to know for if they ever want to find the father. The father needs to know that he has a son or child out there he doesn't know about. I can't believe what I'm hearing here with everyone.
Yeah, but Ger is saying, why rock the boat? Ger is saying, why rock the boat?
Well, we don't know anything about the situation. The actual father could be out there unable to have kids at the moment and just missing out on the opportunity to have a relationship with his biological child. Where are we learning about fucking Catholicism, keeping everything a secret in this country?
I mean, there you go, Ger. Why are we still keeping secrets? We gave out about the Catholic Church doing that many, many years ago. But we're still keeping secrets.
Here, listen, everybody has secrets there. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Everybody has made mistakes in life. You wouldn't be human otherwise. Look, I can't stay too long because I'm doing a bit of work, but I have to say, Niall, you will devastate that family there. And these are just skateboards on the high moral ground. Everybody has made a mistake, everybody in life, and she'd be crazy to rake that up now. If it's in the past, it's in the past.
Okay, so take it
there.
Take it there. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for that, Ger.
I'm wearing a watch on my arm right at the moment that shoots a laser through my arm and tells me how fast my heart is beating, how much oxygen is in my heart, and how my heart rhythm is. How long before that's going to give us DNA and we're all linked up through a social networking app. I mean, the idea that this is going to be kept a secret the way we could in old Catholic Ireland is crazy for starters. Never mind the impact on everyone's life. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get it done now.
Yeah, well, Dave did mention that earlier on, and it was something I never thought of, actually. The amount of kids nowadays, particularly young people, who do those, my DNA, my heritage things, where they find out. And
I'm on it.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it
too.
too.
The chance that I've spread a seed I don't know about, because I would like to know, and I would like to think that if they come out of the woodwork, whether they be 11, 21 or 31, that I'd be there for them.
Yeah. Stay there for a second. Let me go to Maria. Maria, hi. How are you?
Hi. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, Maria. Would you say something?
Yeah. Well, I personally, when I was 12, found out my sister wasn't my full sister; that she had a different dad.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I was absolutely devastated, traumatized, and I don't know why, really, because it never changed anything.
No, it shouldn't really change anything, should it?
But finding out was horrifying and very emotional. For a 12-year-old girl, hormones, going into a new school, it was probably the worst time anybody could find out something like that at any stage of their life. And that's why I think for this particular boy, he should be first priority, absolutely, and should wait until he's old enough to understand what's happened.
Yeah.
Because to do it now when he's only 11, hormones rushing, everything, it would blow up his life, blow up his head, blow up his siblings' heads, all just to relieve this woman's guilt. And poor husband, his whole marriage is a lie. Like, how do you know that if she had told him at the start, he might have walked away, got himself an honest, decent woman, and had, a beautiful relationship? Because if she could lie about this, something so big as this, she could lie about anything. This woman's probably been lying to him for donkey years about everything. She's a disgrace in my eyes, a complete disgrace. And, the poor husband, but the son is top priority at the moment.
But here's the thing, and I agree with what Sean is saying, that we learned nothing throughout the years about lying and, and the way we deal with these situations. But, there is a but here. A lot of people are saying, live with the guilt, take it to the grave, because you're in a happy marriage now. You've got 3 kids, an adoring husband who adores the children. And if you let this secret out and tell him and tell the son and everything else, it will turn your whole marriage, your life, the son's life, the other siblings involved as well, because the marriage could be destroyed. Yeah. It'll turn everything upside down.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant. Sometimes life is painful, and that's the gist of it. The son has a right to know who his parents are, and her husband has the right to know that his wife is a lying, conniving woman, and that, that might raise up other things. Like, he might have not even been happy in that relationship, and thinking, the fact that they had a break tells you a lot. Maybe he wasn't 100%, and maybe he would have turned around and left, but maybe he didn't, because he specifically thought, I've got her pregnant now, I may marry her, I may do this, and, I'll put those little grievances aside that I thought that we shouldn't be together, and do it for the sake of the child. Complete lie. His whole world will be turned upside down. But, honesty is always the best policy. And something will come out of the woodwork eventually. You're talking about DNA. I didn't find out through DNA. It was an argument with a family member. and she just wanted to, give out about me dad. And she's like, oh, well, at least your sister's all right because she's got a different dad. It was just out of malice and wickedness that someone said something.
Right.
And
that happens a lot in families. I'm aware of that.
Of course.
Yeah, I remember when New Year's Eve, I was 12 years of age, New Year's Eve, and I heard my father calling me down the stairs. He brought me down. He said, no, I just want to let you know, you're not mine.
Oh, lovely.
That's how I found out I was adopted.
But it's true, these things, and like everyone makes mistakes, as the other man was saying, but it's how we respond to our mistakes, how we rectify them, and how we move on. It's how you react to things, because everybody messed up, everyone fucks up, we all make mistakes, but it's how you react to that.
Yeah.
The way that she reacted by burying it just shows what type of woman that she is, and her poor husband, he could have had a different life, different family, and a good, honest woman, and now he's been deprived of that, God love him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, truth be out. And
by the way, are both of you parents? Sean, are you a parent yourself?
Yeah.
I am, I have 3 children.
One done, one on the way.
Yeah, okay. And how old is the one done?
4.
And what would you do if your missus turned around and said, I have a bit of news for you, Sean?
I'd be gone in a heartbeat, and I heard people saying that that's scumbag and this, that, and the other, but she would deserve.
But if she cried her eyes out and said, "Listen, Sean, I'm so sorry. It was just a one night stand. I didn't mean it. I know now that it's not your son." Would you? By the way, would you then abandon the phone?
No, that's for her or for me. I would be there as a friend to what is now my child, but the rightful father deserves a chance to build a bond with who I believe is my daughter. And I don't have the right to take that away, to keep a secret from someone to please a toe rag who went out and had a one-night stand.
I have to say, you're very honourable. Listen, thank you very much indeed, Maria. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate both of you coming on the air and talking to us today. Mary on WhatsApp says, problem is, if she doesn't tell him and he does the A23andMe DNA kit, this could connect him to the real father and his family. Happened before. You're right. I never thought that's what Dave mentioned earlier on. Alan says she needs to own up. She's basically committing a type of fraudulent crime. Well, it is a fraudulent crime. You're defrauding the man of knowing that you're trying to convince him that he is the father of the child when he's actually not. Albert says the truth will finish this marriage, but so will maintaining a lie. It's a no-win situation. Everyone loses, especially the children. Oh, yeah. Bobby says paternity tests should be done automatically to avoid disruption of family life. Yeah, I understand what Martin is saying. I don't want too many people in control of your DNA and all that kind of carry on. But there has to be something we can do to avoid this kind of situation happening. Bree says on WhatsApp, if the husband is volatile, she should keep her mouth shut. If this happened to me, I would fear for the wife's safety. And Bree, you're the only one today, by the way, who has concerns about the wife. Nobody else has any concerns about the wife. Anyway, and Alan says, at this stage, she will only break her husband's heart and feck up the boy. Okay. We also got some voice messages here that I want to play for you as well. Hold on, I'll just turn that up there. Let me see.
Niall, as I said, it will have to come out because it will come out eventually, and I know it will turn life upside down, and I know we will say she should have thought of that when it happened, but it happened, and that's the end of it. And if you ask me, should she tell him? Oh, jeez, yeah, and just get on with it, and tell nobody else, tell nobody else but the father, and ask him, if it works out, just to keep. Oh, I don't know. Fuck Niall, I don't know. Leave me out of this one. I can't take it. I can't take it.
By the way, somebody else says, Niall, she should have told him when she suspected it wasn't his child and she cheated on him. That's devastating for her husband and the child. Will she tell them now or continue the lie? That comes in from Aaron. And I've got another voice message here. I'll play it for you too. Hold on.
Niall, before I go any further, at the end of the day, it has to come out. It has to come out at the end of the day. Cheers.
Niall, asking a politician what a woman...
Oh, we already had that one. Sorry, I do apologise. All right, so there you go. Has to come out. Thank you to everybody who got involved in the show today. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, by the way, continue to support the show. We give you an option, or we give you a platform, should I say, to have your opinion every single day. And all you got to do is support the show. Go to the usual website, niallboylan.com. You can either donate or you can subscribe. And we'd really appreciate if you do that. 1 or 2 people have donated to us, and thank you very much indeed. because it helps us to pay the bills. We don't make any money, but it helps us to pay the bills. So please do it. Please support the show. I'll be back again with you tomorrow at the usual time, 12 o'clock. Until then, have a great day.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download from all your usual platforms.